Vechidiki muripi kolmi. Vechidiki muripi kolmi. Ande tino resta kuvota. Ande tino resta kuvota. Ande tino resta kuvota. I was Samaru. I was 18 years ago. Ura boga karebo buta de no rizo kubuta go. Iwara. Dimira mangwana renyika ande itino resta kuvota. Dimira mangwana renyika ande itino resta kuvota. Kana tovota mumwene mumwano votera baturanoda. Kana tovota mumwene mumwano votera baturanoda. Ingava zanu kana tripusi kana MDC chirozo wadai. Ingava zanu kana tripusi kana MDC chirozo wadai. Avana nombokudzira shamari unoza zvaunoda sha unovotera batura unoda yo. Apana zvakawanda zvinombodiwa chitupa chako neproof of residence. Apana zvakawanda zvinombodiwa chitupa chako neproof of residence. Kana uchigara mudhorobha tora risiti yemagetsi. Kana uchigara mudhorobha tora risiti yemvura iwe. Kana muchigara kumusha nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku. Kana muchigara kumusha nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku. Mapana memzada zvinzokutamba mane mumozifambisa sekwem saka mafunga kuti nyika yacho toigadzira sei muzere kuda kuvhota. Ane mani indai mani munorwisa kuvhota mani chiko chinonetsa mungobvunza mumaraini momo kuti registration center iri papi padhuze. Zata zokuti hamuna kunzwa kuti kune vamwe varitopiwa mari nokuti vaenda kunoregista kuvhota. Mukatarisa chipi ndiwena vari kutopa vanhu mari uko. Manje vamwe vakati kana chipi chakati chokasirai because promotion yacho inoona kupera. Saka mubofanirwe kupiwa mari because zvinhu zvitezvoti tigadzire nyika yedu tisu ramangwana renyika yedu. Nguda unozeka iwe shamari uda. Itino resta kuvota. Dimira mangwana renyika ande itino resta kuvota. Kana tovota mumwene mumwano votera baturanoda. Kana tovota mumwene mumwano votera baturanoda. Ingava zanu kana triple C kana MDC chero zvawadai ingava zanu kana triple C kana MDC chero zvawadai avana nombokudzira shamari unoza zvaunoda sha unovodira batora unoda apana zvakawanda zvinombodiwa chitupa chako neproof of resident apana zvakamwanda zvinombodiwa chitupa chako neproof of resident kana uchigara mudhorobha tora risiti yemagetsi kana uchigara mudhorobha tora risiti yemvura iwe kana muchigara kumusha nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku kana muchigara kumusha nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku.
Okay. Anditika Zimbabwe, good afternoon and welcome. Register to vote Zimbabwe. This is once again a new program that we're bringing you right here on a Sunday. Something that we're trying here just to see how we can get everyone registered to vote. We'll be crossing live to the Twitter space, Bulilima, Elections Fundraiser with advocate Fadzayi Mahere. The song that you're listening to in the background is a track from Cooksman. Exclusively done for Register to Vote Zimbabwe. This is a brand new track. And it's mukutanga kuinzwa matanga kuibata panapa aisati yareleaswa. This has been done exclusively for the Register to Vote efforts. And we want to welcome you, Zimbabwe. It's exactly coming up to 16 minutes after 6 p.m. right here on the 6th. Is it the 6th or the 7th? I don't even remember what day it is today, but we want to thank you. We'll be crossing over to the Twitter space. I think Twakazi is actually hosting advocate Fadzayi Mahere on the Bulilima by-elections fundraiser. We'll be crossing over in the next few minutes, but stay tuned as we listen to this brand new track from Cooksman. Datinini, this is the first time you are hearing this track, released exclusively for Register to Vote Zimbabwe. In case you're joining us, this is Register to Vote Zimbabwe on a Sunday. And it's tukuonesana tiri pamwe chete panapa tinokuchinga mudzai muri yeZimbabwe. Nasi, stay tuned.
I was Samaru, I was supposed to 18 years ago. Saji ura boga karebo buta de no rizo buta de go. Iwara. Dimira mangwana renyika ande itino resta kuvota. Dimira mangwana renyika ande itino resta kuvota. Kana tovota mumwene mumwano votera batora anoda. Kana tovota mumwene mumwano votera batora anoda. Ingava zanu kana triple C kana MDC chero zvawadai ingava zanu kana triple C kana MDC chero zvawadai avana nombokudzira shamari unoza zvaunoda sha unovodira batora unoda apana zvakawanda zvinombodiwa chitupa chako neproof of resident apana zvakamwanda zvinombodiwa chitupa chako neproof of resident kana uchigara mudhorobha tora risiti yemagetsi kana uchigara mudhorobha tora risiti yemvura iwe kana muchigara kumusha nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku kana muchigara kumusha nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku. Mapana memzada zvinzokutamba mane mumozifambisa sekwem saka mafunga kuti nyika yacho toigadzira sei muzere kuda kuvhota ane mani indai mani munorwisa kuvhota mani chiko chinonetsa mungovhunza bvunzo mumaraini mumo kuti registration center iri papi padhuze musata sokuti hamuna kunzwa kuti kune vamwe vatopiwa mari nokuti vaenda kunoregista kuvhota vavunga mukatarisa chipi ndiwenu vari kutopa vanhu mari uko manje wamokadoka ndichikichoka ndichokasirai because promotion yachinoona kupera zvambofanirwe kuwa mari because zvinhu zvitezvoti tigadzire nyika yedu tisu ramangwana renyika kayedu nguda urezeka iwe shamari uda Vechidiki muripiko imi Vechidiki muripiko imi Andei tinoresta kuvota Andei tinoresta kuvota Andei tinoresta kuvota Samaru, outside was the 18 years ago. Such you were a boga carabo that the non reason of you are Timira Mangwana, and they didn't resta kuvota. Timira Mangwana, and they didn't resta kuvota. Canato vota, Mumene Mumano potera baturanoda. Canato vota. Mumweno mumano fotera batoranoda Ingaba zanu kana tripusi kana MDC chirozo wadai Ingaba zanu kana tripusi kana MDC chirozo wadai Abana nombokudzira shamari onozazo unoda sha unogodira batora unoda yo Abana zvakawanda zvinombodiwa chitupa chako nepo president Abana zvakawanda zvinombodiwa chitupa chako nepo president Kana uchigara mudhorobha tora risiti yemagetsi Kana uchigara mudhorobha tora risiti yemvura iwe Kana muchigara kumusha nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku Kana muchigara kumusha nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku
That's kwakaoma tinokuchingamidza hii. Welcome Zimbabwe. It's coming up to exactly rega tonoti kwakamira sei nasa ndiga tinokuchingamidza panapa tiri register to vote Zimbabwe, and we have a program that is starting in the next few minutes. Bulilima by-elections fundraiser with Fadzayi advocates Fadzayi Mahere. We bring you live, Techi streamer live and panapa. But for now, just stay tuned and listen. We're just waiting to cross over to Bulilima by-elections fundraiser. Exclusive track done specifically for register to vote Zimbabwe efforts. Just a quick reminder, we are not partisan. And we will carry any party. It's just that today we couldn't get to Gokwe, where the president was addressing the ZCC, members of the Zimbabwe Christian, whatever that other C is for. Anditika idi nasangara kugogwe anditika kune mtendi azimtendi whatever it was. Unfortunately we couldn't get there today, but register to vote Zimbabwe is non-partisan. We do not favor or support any party. All we're trying to do is to get people registered. Anditika kana wazofunga kuti uvotere Zanu PF zviri kwauri anditika kana unoda kuvotera triple C, it's entirely up to you. All we're trying to do here is to get people, as many people registered as possible. We are non-partisan. Today, we will be carrying advocate Fadzayi Mahere's Bulilima by-elections fundraiser. We're just on the verge of crossing over to that Twitter space. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
ane itinoresta kuvhota. Ndimi ramangwana renyika, ane itinoresta kuvhota. Kana tovhota, mumwe nemumwe anovhotera bato raanoda. Kana tovhota, mumwe nemumwe anovhotera bato raanoda. Ingava ZANU kana TCC kana MDC chero zvawadai. Ingava ZANU kana TCC kana MDC chero zvawadai. Avana nombokudzira shamari unoza zvaunoda sha unovhotera bato raunoda. Apana zvakawanda zvinombodiwa chitupa chako neproof of residence. Apana zvakawanda zvinombodiwa chitupa chako neproof of residence. Kana uchigara mudhorobha tora risiti yemagetsi. Kana uchigara mudhorobha tora risiti yemvura iwe. Kana muchigara kumusha nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku. Kana muchigara kumusha nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku. Mapana memzada zunzo kutamba mane mumuzivamisa segwem sa mofuko di nyega yute gatra sei muziruda kuvota. Ane mani inde mani munuriza kuvota mani chiko chinoneka mungovunza umareni mumo kuti registration center iri papi padhuze. Zata zokuti hamuna kunzwa kuti kune vamwe varitopiwa mari nokuti vaenda kunorejista kuvota. Mukatarisa chipi ndiwenu vari kutopa vanhu mari uko. Manje vamwe vakati chiki chakati chokasirai because promotion yacho inoona kupera. Saka mubofanirwa kupiwa mari because izvi ndezvoti tigadzire nyika yedu, tisu ramangwana renyika kaya. Nguda urezeka iwe shamari uda. Anenoresta kuvota. 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 Vechidiki muripiko imi. Vechidiki muripiko imi. Andei tinoresta kuvota. Andei tinoresta kuvota. Andei tinoresta kuvota. Wachamaru hausatozita 18 years ago. Sachi urapoka garepo kutatena noriza kuvota seko. Iwo vara ndimira mangwana renyika, andei tinoresta kuvota. Ndimira mangwana renyika, andei tinoresta kuvota. Kana tovhota, mumwe nemumwe anovhotera bato raanoda. Kana tovhota, mumwe nemumwe anovhotera bato raanoda. Ingava ZANU kana TCC kana MDC chero zvawadai. Ingava ZANU kana TCC kana MDC chero zvawadai. Avana nombokudzira shamari unoza zvaunoda sha unovhotera bato raunoda. Apana zvakawanda zvinombodiwa chitupa chako neproof of residence. Apana zvakawanda zvinombodiwa chitupa chako neproof of residence. Kana uchigara mudhorobha tora risiti yemagetsi. Kana uchigara mudhorobha tora risiti yemvura iwe. Kana muchigara kumusha nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku. Kana muchigara kumusha nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku. Mapana memzada zunzo kutamba mane mumuzivamisa segwem saka mofuko di nyika yute gatra sei muziruda kuvota. Ane mani inde mani unoregister kuvhota manemi chiko chinonetsa ungovhunza mumaraini momo kuti registration center iri papi padhuze mutata sokuti hamuna kunzwa kuti kune vamwe vatopiwa mari nokuti vaenda kunoregister kuvhota mukatarisa chipi ndiwene vari kutopa vanhu mari uko manje vamwe vakati chipi chakati chokasirai because promotion yacho inoona kupera mufanirwe kupiwa mari because zvinhu zvitezvoti tigadzire nyika yedu tisu ramangwana renyika kaedu nguda urezeka iwe shamari uda
All right, we are just waiting to cross over to that live program, Bulilima by-elections fundraiser with Advocate Fadzayi Mahere. The program is running a few minutes late, so please stay tuned. We'll be bringing you that live broadcast right here on Register to Vote Zimbabwe. And this is a live stream. Song playing in the background there is a track that has been exclusively done for the voter registration efforts that we're involved in. We are partnering with Cooksman, Mr. Kudakwasha Nditi. Unoti tingabetserane sei panyaya dzekuregister to vote. Zimbabwe, we cannot let 2023 slip. And it got 2023. All right, and it's trying to stay neutral here. And it. Welcome once again. It's exactly coming up to 29 minutes to 7 p.m. right here where we're broadcasting to you live from. I think it's 29 minutes to 8 p.m. in Zimbabwe. And it got Trudauti Tigunzre program, scheduled program, register to vote Zimbabwe, Bulilima by-elections fundraiser with the CCC spokesperson Fadzayi Mahere. That program is running a few minutes late. Saka tsatitaenda ukoko anditi takateerera zvedu Mr. Cooksman. We are partnering with Mr. Cooksman Kudakwashe. Try and get everyone out there to register to vote. We are non-partisan, by the way. Non-governmental organization, non-partisan. Anyone who wants to obviously use our services, we are more than open to that idea. Bulilima by-elections fundraiser with CCC spokesperson. This is a live Twitter space. It's going to be coming to you live in the next few minutes. But for now, please stay tuned. And a track playing in the background is Register to Vote Zimbabwe. This is a brand new track done by Cooksman. Cooksman testinomzi anditi Mazu Cooksman. Fana mngani. Anditi uyazama la lapha azama ekhona. Tinoda tizame kuti tibetserane kwese kwauri anditi kamuri yeZimbabwe tinoda tizame kuti tiudzane hama neshamwari kuti tiregister kuvota. Anditi hatisi kuti register uvotere pakati. All we're saying is take the opportunity and grab it with both hands and ensure that you're registered to vote. Between now and the day of voting, you can decide whoever you are going to vote for. That's entirely up to you. All we're trying to do is to try and get as many people registered as possible. So stay tuned. We will be right back.
Vechidiki muripiko imi Vechidiki muripiko imi Andei tinoresta kuvota ande tinoresta kuvota ande tinoresta kuvota aiwe chamariu hausatozita 18 years rewe sachiuremboka garepo kutatenonoreisa kuvota seko iwe vara timira mangwana renyika ande tinoresta kuvota ndimira mangwana renyika ande tinoresta kuvota kana tovota mumwe nemumwe anovhotera bato raanoda kana tovota mumwe nemumwe anovhotera bato raanoda ingava zanu kana tripusi kana mdc chero zvawadai ingava zanu kana tripusi kana mdc chero zvawadai havana nombokuudzira shamari unoza zvaunoda cha unovhotera bato raunoda iwo hapana zvakawanda zvinombodiwa chitupa chako neproof of resident hapana zvakamwanda zvinombodiwa chitupa chako neproof of resident kana uchigara mudhorobha tora risiti yemagetsi kana uchigara mudhorobha tora risiti yemvura iwe kana muchigara kumusha nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku kana muchigara kumusha nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku mapana memusata zvinhu zvokutamba mane mumozvifambisa sekwemu saka mafunga kuti nyika yacho toigadzira sei musiri kuda kuvhota ane mani indai mani munorwisa kuvhota mani chiko chinonetsa mungobvunza mumaraini mumo kuti registration center iri papi padhuze musata sekuti hamuna kunzwa kuti kune vamwe varitopiwa mari nokuti vaenda kunoregista kuvhota mukatarisa chipi wenu vari kutopa vanhu mari uko manje vamwe vakati kana chokasirai because promotion yacho inoona kupera vasambofanirwe kuwa mari because zvinhu zvitezvoti tigadzire nyika yedu tisu ramangwana renyika nguda urezeka iwe shamari uda vechidiki muripiko imi vechidiki muripiko imi andei tinoresta kuvota andei tinoresta kuvota andei tinoresta kuvota aiwe chamariu hausatozita 18 years rewe sachiuremboka garepo kutatenonoreisa kuvhota seko iwe vara timira mangwana renyika andei tinoresta kuvhota ndimira mangwana renyika andei tinoresta kuvhota kana tovhota mumwe nemumwe anovhotera bato raanoda kana tovhota mumwe nemumwe anovhotera bato raanoda ingava zanu kana tripusi kana mdc chero zvawadai ingava zanu kana tripusi kana mdc chero zvawadai havana nombokuudzira shamari unoza zvaunoda cha unovhotera bato raunoda iwo hapana zvakawanda zvinombodiwa chitupa chako neproof of resident hapana zvakamwanda zvinombodiwa chitupa chako neproof of resident kana uchigara mudhorobha.
Welcome, good afternoon, Zimbabwe. Hanza pana zvakawanda zvinombodiwa chitupa chako. Natsuno wakaoma. Welcome and good afternoon. And we're coming to you live here on Register to Vote Zimbabwe. Aditya, waswera sei kwauri koko chona njani lapho khona sikhona lapha siku-register to vote Zimbabwe. We cannot let 2023 slip. And we want to make sure that everyone is registered to vote. I know the past few years we have not done as much as Zimbabweans, especially those in the diaspora, at least to be involved in the efforts that our brothers and sisters back home are engaged in. And diaspora and voter, that's a thing of the past. What Register to Vote Zimbabwe stands for is we want to get everyone engaged. You know, there's things that you can do if you're in the diaspora. It's definitely things that you can do to take part. This whole idea that you cannot vote while domiciled in the diaspora is a thing of the past. And this is what Register to Vote has been set up to try and resolve. The whole idea, I'm not a spokesperson, but I'll just tell you from what I've been following. What they are trying to do is to get every single Zimbabwean, especially those in the diaspora, to sponsor, facilitate, support, or actually be involved in registering at least 5 new voters in the next 12 months. That's what Register to Vote is all about. Nothing else. We're not telling you who to vote for. It's entirely up to you. We just need to register at least 5 new voters in the next 12 months. Saka paucha votera dumbu rako. All right, trying to stay neutral here. Dumbu rako ndori chakudza kuti uvotere pai. Kana wakaguta unoziya pekuisa vote. Kana une nzara, you also know where to put your vote. All right, Zimbabwe. And takamirira kuti tiite 19 minutes. 19 minutes to 7 p.m. where we're broadcasting to you live from. Takamirira kuti kunzire Twitter live Bulilima elections fundraiser with Advocate Fadzayi Mahere in the next few minutes. And takamirira kuti zova that Twitter space is running a few minutes late. We are hoping we would catch up with them very soon. But let me just tell you a bit about the song playing in the background. We reached out to Cooksman, who is Kudakwashe, and asked him if we could actually collaborate on some of the things that we are doing. And Kudakwashe was very open. Cooksman and Munongwa Cooksman panyaya ku register to vote. He becomes very passionate when you engage with him. So we reached out to him, and it took him about a day or two to actually come up with a track. So we asked him, can you do us a jingle for Register to Vote as Zimbabwe? And the track that you're listening to is a result of that conversation that we had with Cooksman. And it's going to be our flagship jingle right here on Register to Vote Zimbabwe. We are trying, especially this coming week, you're going to see quite a lot happen in terms of trying to penetrate some of the areas that have never been entered before. But for now, stay tuned. Zimbabwe, we will be crossing over to Bulilima Fundraiser with Fadzayi Mahere as soon as we get that live stream right here on Register to Vote Zimbabwe. Your voter registration commitment is rather to get 5 new voters registered in the next 12 months. That's all you need to do. 12 months. I think from what we're hearing from the guys on the ground, it takes about $20, at most $20 to register a new voter. So up to $20. So let me just give you the maths here. So you find that in some areas like Harare, for example, it's as little as $5 because you only need transport money to get into town, which is like $1 and $1.02 and $1 back. And then in some cases, you may want to help the new voter with some documents. So our understanding is if they do not have a birth certificate, it's $10 to get a birth certificate. But it's apparently free to get an ID. So $10 for the birth certificate, and it's free to get an ID. That's all you need to register. So if you are in Harare, it takes about $10. But when we start talking about areas, some of those unentered areas in the rural areas, it can go up to $20. Because when you have to arrange transport to go into places like Uzumba, Maramba, Pfungwa, and all those other areas, it requires a bit of money. So on average, it's anything between $5 to $20 to register a single voter, depending on which part of the country they are. So if we all make a commitment, we are talking about 12 months here. $100 will get you at least five. And in some cases, you can actually register up to 10 new voters. So with $100, you can get 5 to 10 new voters registered. Right, depending obviously on which part of the country you are. And what else can I give you here? Right here on Register to Vote Zimbabwe, we're just waiting to cross over to Bulilima by-elections fundraiser with Advocate Fadzayi Mahere. This is a non-partisan show. By the way, if you're ZANU-PF, we will be following ZANU-PF as soon as they also start running these Twitter spaces to make sure that our, the programs that we run here are not actually tilted towards a single party. We want to represent the views of every single Zimbabwean. We appreciate the diaspora. There's got ZANU and CCC supporters. So it's only fair to make sure that the two biggest parties are represented. If we manage to convince the guys from the MDC Alliance to join, we will also be bringing you their programs right here on Register to Vote. This is all what we stand for. We want to get as many Zimbabweans registered as possible, especially in the next 12 months. So we have given you the figures. It's about $100 to get at least 5 new people registered. So it can go up to, you can get even up to 10 depending on which part of the country you're dealing with. And so let's say 12 months. So we've got just under 10 months. Let's put the time left between now and the next elections to 10 months. That means that you can budget about $10 every month to get your 5 registered in the next 12 months. And let's look at the figures here. There's 3 million Zimbabweans in the diaspora, those that are working. We're not counting children here. We're talking about adults that are working, and we're trying to get each one of them to register at least 5 new voters. That's all we're here for. We're not trying to get each Zimbabwean in the diaspora, those that cannot take part or can participate in the election, to sponsor 5 new voters in Zimbabwe. And we know it's possible because we've got about 10 months. It will only cost you $10 a month to change the trajectory our country is actually taking right now. So stay tuned to Zimbabwe. We will be going to Bulilima by-elections fundraiser now. We're just going to check whether the team on the other side is ready. But for now, I'll leave you listening to Cooksman Kudakwash. And it's no register. Go vote. Stay tuned.
And no register kuvota. Vechidiki muripiko imi. Vechidiki muripiko imi. Ande tino register kuvota. Ande tino register kuvota. Ande tino register kuvota. I was Samaru, I was just 18 years ago. You were a boga carebo that no reason for you are Timina Mangwana Rejik, and they did not register kuvota. Dimira Mangwana Rejik, and they did not register kuvota. Cannot vote. Mumene Mumano Potera Baturanoda. Cannot vote. Mumene Mumano Potera Baturanoda. Ingabazanu. Kana CCC, kana MDC, Chiroso Adai. Ingabazanu, kana CCC, kana MDC, Chiroso Adai. Avanambo Udzira, Shamarono Zazono Dasha, no Drabatro no Deo. Abana Zagawanda Zunomodiwa, Chitupaja chako neproof of residence. Apana zvakamwana zvinombodiwa. Chitupa chako neproof of residence. Kana uchigara mudhorobha, tora risiti yemagetsi. Kana uchigara mudhorobha, tora risiti yemvura iwe. Kana muchigara kumusha, nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku. Kana muchigara kumusha, nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku. Mapana memzada zunzo kutamba mane. Mumozivamisa segwem. Saka mofunga kuti nyika yachotegatira sei muziruda kuvota. Ane mani indai mani munoriza kuvota mani. Chiko chinonetsa mungovunza mumaraini mumo kuti registration center iri papi padhuze. Mzata zokuti hamuna kunzwa kuti kune vamwe varitopiwa mari nokuti vaenda kunorejista kuvota. Mukatarisa chipi ndiwena vari kutopa vanhu mari uko. Manje vamwe vakati ukanda chiki chakati chokasirai because promotion yacho inoona kupera. Saka mubofanirwe kupiwa mari because zvinhu zvitezvoti tigadzire nyika yedu tisu ramangwana renyika yedu. Mukuda urezeka iwe shamari uda. Vechidiki muripiko imi. Vechidiki muripiko imi. Andei tinoresta kuvota. Andei tinoresta kuvota. Andei tinoresta kuvota. Shamari hausati wazita 18 years rewe. Sachi uremboka garepo kutadze nonorisa kuvota seko. Iwo vara timira mangwana renyika. Andei tinoresta kuvota. Timira mangwana renyika. Andei tinoresta kuvota. Kana tovota mumwe nemumwe anovhotera bato raanoda. Kana tovota mumwe nemumwe anovhotera bato raanoda. Ingava ZANU kana Triple C kana MDC chero zvawadai. Ingava ZANU kana Triple C kana MDC chero zvawadai. Havana nombokuudzira shamari unoziva zvaunoda sha unovhotera bato raunoda. Hapana zvakawanda zvinombodiwa. Chitupa chako neproof of residence. Hapana zvakamwana zvinombodiwa. Chitupa chako neproof of residence. Kana uchigara mudhorobha, tora risiti yemagetsi. Kana uchigara mudhorobha, tora risiti yemvura iwe. Kana muchigara kumusha, nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku. Kana muchigara kumusha, nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku. Mapana memzada zunzo kutamba mane. Mumozivamisa segwem. Saka mofunga kuti nyika yachotegatira sei muziruda kuvota. Ane mani indai mani munoriza kuvota mani. Chiko chinonetsa mungovunza mumaraini mumo kuti registration center iri papi padhuze. Mzata zokuti hamuna kunzwa kuti kune vamwe varitopiwa mari nokuti vaenda kunorejista kuvota. Mukatarisa chipi ndiwena vari kutopa vanhu mari uko. Manje vamwe vakati ukanda chiki chakati chokasirai because promotion yacho inoona kupera. Saka mubofanirwe kupiwa mari because zvinhu zvitezvoti tigadzire nyika yedu tisu ramangwana renyika yedu. Mukuda urezeka iwe shamari uda. Aneknoresta kuvota. 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 Vechidiki, vechidiki, vechidiki muripiko imi. Vechidiki, vechidiki, vechidiki muripiko imi. Andei, andei, tinoresta kuvota. Andei, andei, tinoresta kuvota. Andei, andei, tinoresta.
All right, Zimbabwe, and they register kuvota and it. That's a track there from Mr. Cooksman Kudakwashe right here on Zimbabwe. Register to vote, Zimbabwe. We'll now be crossing over to the program, the scheduled program, Bulilima by-elections fundraiser. Just started a few minutes ago. So we'll be crossing over now to the Bulilima by-elections fundraiser with Fadzayi Mahere. Stay where you are. Don't move an inch. Coming to you live right here on Register to Vote Zimbabwe. Right here on a Sunday the 8th of August 2022. It's coming up to 5 minutes to 7 p.m. right here in the United Kingdom where we're coming to you live from. Aditaka cross over now to that scheduled program for today. Do not move an inch. Stay tuned. Torari city ye mageti kana uchigara mudhorobha torari city ye muraiwe kana muchigara kumusha nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku kana muchigara kumusha nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku mapana memuzata zvinhu zvokutamba mane mumozvifambisa segwe saka mafunga kuti nyika yacho toigadzira sei musiri kuda kuvhota ane mani indai mani munorwisa kuvhota mani chiko chinonetsa mungobvunza mumaraini mumo kuti registration center iri papi padhuze musata sekuti hamuna kunzwa kuti kune vamwe vari kutopiwa mari nokuti vaenda kunoregista kuvhota mukatarisa chipi ndiwene vari kutopa vanhu mari uko manje vamwe vakati chipi chakati chokasirai because promotion yacho
come and push us all the percentages right away. So thank you so much. Let me see. Signor has already been challenged there. Shiva's daughter has already contributed. And Jabulo there, I can see today we have got Tendai Tekla Bebe. Can you kindly go and assist us? We have got 3 minutes, and I hope that we'll be able to hear Advocate speaking now. Kindly go and do something. We are now 124. Go and do something. Those who can't push us a percentage, go and put something, a $5, $1, a $10, a $15. Thank you so much. And I think the advocate can even accept the mic, because I have great confidence in this space, and I know that they are going to come through in a big way. Over to you, my brother B.
Thank you very much. I also want to ask, I see Babu Chuma, or Trinos Chuma. Singabe ungasibili ungasifakela okuyi-percentage nje, the percentage is $30. Thank you very much. And in the meantime, I think we can proceed with the business of the day. But please, those who are getting their cards, please continue and continue to use the link, to share the link, to retweet the link, to share the tweet even on your WhatsApp, and just give a brief explainer of what we're trying to do here. Sometimes that's where the people are. When we initially started this exercise, we just did it like in our WhatsApp group, assisting towards the group, and we generated some funds there as well. So I'd ask Advocate Mahere to ask Mike, and I'll let Unontogozo go ahead and introduce here to us. Thank you very much.
Before Nondokoso comes in, I can just say that your request, if you can check on the link host, I hope you will be happy. And thank you for the nominated people for coming through. We knew that you would actually help us and push us in a big way. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to Mambo Soswe. He almost did 2% for us, and Priscilla for the 1%, $30 and $50. Thank you very much to both of you. Greatly appreciated. And Nando, you can go ahead. Thank you.
Yes, BK. At least I don't know. Have we tried to reach 70%? You know, at least are we 70%?
Right now we're sitting at 55% or almost 56%. So 70%, I think the time limit that we have, especially Advocate Mahere, since she indicated that she can only be with us for an hour. Maybe 70% we can hit it while she's still speaking or interacting with us. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, PK. Once again, thank you everyone for joining CCCM Twakazi space this evening. Some of you have been coming through every day. We really appreciate your continued support, your participation, and your donations are well appreciated. Today, we are really honored and very excited to be joined by the citizen spokesperson, Advocate Mahere. Hello, Advocate, and welcome to our space. Thank you for accepting our invite. We know you have a very busy schedule. We really appreciate your work, all that you do for great prosecution of our struggle. Without wasting the time, I would like to give the floor to Advocate, and so that she can share with us the challenges and the counters that the movement is experiencing in the walk towards the 2023 elections. Please, Advocate Mahere, come through. Spokes, the mic is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Siyabonga Mtwakazi Omuhle. It's such a pleasure to be here this evening. It's such a gift to be amongst citizens who are doing so much to contribute to the struggle to win Zimbabwe for change. I'm so privileged to have been invited onto this platform and to just share a few insights. Obviously, because I speak so much, and not too much. My mom always says that I could talk forever. So what I propose to do maybe is to speak for about 5, possibly 10 minutes, and then thereafter maybe field some questions. We do try and host press briefings frequently to try and let the citizens know what's going on. So sometimes it's good to maybe hear your feedback and then respond directly to maybe some of the questions citizens may have. But let me just get straight into it. Zimbabwe is at the turn of an age. I was speaking to a group of young people a few days ago, a bunch of young Ama 2000, and I said, whether you realize it or not, whether you accept the enormity of the moment or not, as Zimbabwe is at the cusp of something that is monumental. What's about to happen in the next 12 months is going to be make or break for a number of people's lives, whether you are a student in high school, whether you're at college currently, whether you're starting out, whether you're a graduate of medical school, of law school, you're a professional, you're an entrepreneur, you're a vendor, you're a rural teacher, whatever it is, the decision you're going to make and the decisions you're going to make over the next 12 or so months are really going to determine what our collective future for the next 5 years and possibly beyond that are going to look like. Do we want leaders who have our interests at heart or not? Do we want leaders who loot our national resources, our gold, our lithium, our platinum, our whatever reserves the nation has, or not? Do we want leaders who invest in our public schools? Do you want leaders who have an interest in ensuring that we've got a functional banking system? Zimbabwe is limping. I've traveled around Africa and I've sat on quite a few forums, and Zimbabwe is being left behind. Ghana is steaming ahead, Nigeria is steaming ahead, Kenya is roaring past us, Zambia, even South Africa. South Africa is said to be in crisis, but they're way ahead of us. Zimbabwe has started to become, if it hasn't already been, the sick man of Africa. And we really can't look to anyone. Nobody is interested in solving this crisis for us. It's the sort of crisis that is ours to fix or allowed to continue. So we really have a huge responsibility. So long as you are 17 years old today and above, the future is in your hands, and we've got the keys. We literally have the power to remove dictatorship, corruption, violence from governance and to install ethical leaders, or to leave the situation as it is. Those who are in power and those who benefit from the system continue to sponsor a narrative that says, voting doesn't work. Well, if voting didn't work, why do they put, their dodgy friends and relatives as commissioners of ZEC? If voting doesn't work, why are they always, using traditional leaders to stop the Triple C and the opposition from penetrating rural areas? Why is it that they force citizens to be assisted voters? Why do they spend so much money, resources, time, energy, technical thoughts, strategy into manipulating the election? It's because they know that voting can literally be the decider, the difference between whether they continue in power or not. So the call to action could not be clearer. We have a huge responsibility to participate in the change. It's not just a question of voting, but it's also participating. Sometimes young people complain that, the reason we don't want to vote is because we don't have anyone to vote for. Well, it's time to step up. Nobody is too young to run. We have to participate, step up in our respective communities and try and participate in building the change that we want to see in our society. I think the president has said very clearly, President Chamisa, that, this is going to be an election like no other, right from our community candidate selection process. You decide who represents you. You are going to decide the agenda. You're going to decide, even build the movement into a movement that you want and that you can be proud of. You're going to have the opportunity to volunteer. You're going to have the opportunity to run your TikTok accounts as you like. You're going to have the opportunity to encourage other young people, old people, pensioners. And I do want to speak to the old. I mean, the state of our pension system at the moment is really cause for huge concern. It's an assault on dignity to see mothers, fathers who've worked for decades and put aside money for NASA, now getting a payout of $20 a month, which can barely sustain them for a day. It can't even pay for a cab to take them to the bank and back. I mean, it really is an assault on the dignity of the citizens. So thank you so much to everybody who's contributed to this fundraiser for Bulilima. There are 3 candidates that are going to be running there. As we know, that these seats have been held by ZANU-PF, but the Triple C is a brand new movement that really wants to shake things up in the whole of Matabeleland, the south, north. We've seen all the beautiful things that are being done in Binga, and we really want to replicate that model. Thank you so much to Honorable Prince Dweko Sibanda, who's working there, and a number of our leaders in Bulilima who are really doing the heavy lifting in that community to ensure that we build a movement, a grassroots movement that covers every single village, every single home, every single part of this beautiful part of our great country. So I encourage everybody, let's continue to participate. This is not going to be the last by-election. And obviously, thank you so much for your contributions towards all the previous by-elections as well. We cannot thank you enough. We also want to thank you for the support that we are giving collectively to the Nyatsime 15. The Nyatsime 15 include Honorable Jobsi Kala, Honorable Godfrey Sitole. They were the first 2 to be arrested by the regime following the death of Mo Blessing Ali and the attempt by the Nyatsime Triple C community to hold the regime to account for, the gruesome murder and abduction that took place in respect of Mo Blessing Ali. Instead of the regime taking responsibility for what transpired, we actually saw them start to persecute our citizens even more. At least 3 of the Nyatsime 15 are victims of arson. They've been abused repeatedly. You call the names of the Nyatsime 15, it's important to say their names. There's Precious Jeche, there's Odious Makoma, there's Mr. Mishe Guja, there's Mr. Shepherd Blakazi, there's Tatenda Pindahama, there's Enoch Toka, there's Emmanuel Mradzikwa, there's Chawia Shopa, there's Rowan Toka, there's Afania Chinembiri, there's Zexma Koni, there's Robert Matsokera, there's Clever Sibanda. So all of these are citizens who are basically being persecuted for standing by, a slain member of our community who should never have been killed, but who was killed, murdered, in a gruesome murder by ZANU-PF. So let's continue to remember them and display solidarity. So I think that's my 5 minutes for now. Host, with your kind leave, I'll take some questions. Unless you want me to just keep speaking, I'm in your hands, literally.
Thank you very much, Mahere, and thank you very much for that very, very insightful, insightful opening remarks. I'd also like to say thank you very much to Simbodi for the donation, and Titus Taffy. I think Titus Taffy, this is the second donation. He donated as well yesterday, and to Jabulo Bandungwenya, who almost gave us 2%, which is about $50. Thank you very much. And Mawaya, you donated as well yesterday. Thank you very much for coming through for us again today.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, greatly appreciate you. And it's also just like the advocate has said, everybody is needed in 2023. Let's have these conversations with our people back home, especially some of us who are in the diaspora. Let's encourage them. Let's verify whether they have got IDs. There's currently an ID exercise ongoing. If anybody needs details about where they can get an ID in any part of Zimbabwe, DM us, CCC Diaspora, CCC DMV, or Sarah or Nondozo, and we'll get back to you. If we can get your ID currently, verify their voter registration status, and hopefully we can use those nearest centers. And Zake has indicated that they might have another voter registration. Please, hopefully they do so. This time around, we'll be ready for them. Thank you very much to everybody who's donated. Over to you, Suiko.
Thank you, BK, and thank you, Advocate Mahere. Maybe whilst we are waiting for the other people to request the mic, I have a question for you, advocate. We once had a space where one of the advocates said the justice system in Zimbabwe, they are bundling the cases together, like what happens to Honorable Scala has to happen to Honorable Stole. But there was an issue of one being a first-time offender, then one having been arrested about 67, between 67 and 70 times. So this issue of bundling of issues, or is it legal, or how is it supposed to work in a normal country?
Thank you so much, Jiko. That's a great question. Let me begin by saying that it's important to place on record that every single citizen is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. So you can arrest Mahere 5 times, 10 times, 20 times. For as long as there is no conviction as against that person remains innocent and generally entitled to bail, which is constitutionally, it's a constitutional entitlement. In the previous constitution, pre-2013, there wasn't a right to bail. So it was thought when the new constitution, the 2013 constitution was introduced, that the bail regime had been revolutionized, and it was supposed that every single accused person, unless there are very specific special circumstances, and it's quite a high threshold, every person should get bail. It should not be the case that the minute you're CCC, you don't get bail. Something has gone wrong in the system. So I just wanted to clarify that the fact that Honorable Job Sikala may have been arrested many times, for as long as he has no conviction against him, which he does not, as far as the record states, he is innocent. And that the fact that you've been arrested several times is not, a factor that can stop a person from getting bail. So it shouldn't be the case, if the law is working as it should, that, your previous arrests should undermine your right to bail. Now, let's talk a little bit about the lumping together of the cases. Now, the difficulty with what's happened in Yatsime is that the police have instituted what's known at law as a dragnet arrest, where you just literally say, anyone who's CCC, come into this big net, we're arresting you. Just literally for the fun of it. There are 3 people, including Mishe Guja, Precious Jeche, and I'm forgetting the third one, but they've had their homes burnt. There really is no reason for them to be brought before the courts. There's no reasonable suspicion they've committed any offense whatsoever, and yet they're being persecuted. What simply happened is they went and looked for anyone who's a community leader or associated with CCC and arrested those people. That should never happen in a constitutional democracy. The only thing that entitles the police to arrest a person is if they've formed a reasonable suspicion that a person has committed an offense. And you can't say, well, no, there was violence, and so we think it was X. You don't arrest to investigate, you investigate to arrest. So the time these persons were arrested by the police should have already had a clear case against them. But what you've seen instead is, and this has emerged from their bail hearings, you'll hear at the bail hearings that, no, we're still looking for information to do with this or that. That means that they had no bona fide reasonable suspicion that these people had committed an offense. What's beyond any doubt is that they are political prisoners. At least 2 of them, Godfrey Sitole and Job Sikala, are being held at a Chikurubi maximum prison. Why are they being held amongst convicts without any trial? These are people who the Constitution says have a right to bail, and yet they're already jailed without trial in the country's maximum security prison. Something has gone dangerously wrong. This is a clear weaponization of the legal system, of the justice system. It's clear abuse of the right to liberty. It's an assault on their dignity. We already know that, before, political persecutions, the conditions in our prisons are really deplorable. So you can see that they're effectively serving a sentence before they've committed any crime. And if you look at most of the crimes with which they've been charged, they're the sort of crimes where a person will be sentenced normally to a fine. Of course, they're not guilty for these offenses, but I'm just trying to put into perspective the fact that they've been dragged into the situation to send a chilling effect to the Nyatsime community. You saw what ZANU-PF even said as soon as Mo Blessing Ali's body was found in the well. They said, no, this is a ZANU-PF zone. Even before that, they said, no, the killing of Mo Blessing or her abduction has been staged. ZANU-PF never takes responsibility. Even after you've got evidence that's beyond any doubt to show that she's been murdered, they still don't have, they don't take responsibility. Up to now, we don't know. The police have not updated us on the investigation in respect of Pius Jama, the person who allegedly abducted and murdered Mo Blessing Ali. There's no commitment to ensure that justice is done where a crime has definitely been committed. We even saw what happened with the person who was threatening death against President Chamisa and the Triple C. None of those people will be placed before a court, arraigned before a court for inciting violence or acting unlawfully. We even have a top leader of ZANU-PF who said that the Triple C must be crushed like lice. None of those leaders who you see in the Nyatsime 15 have said anything close to that. And so you can clearly see that there's a selective application which is calculated to try and stifle our work in the communities. If you look at all the persons who were targeted, they are people who are very active in the community. Mo Blessing Ali was registering people to vote. Honorable Job Sikala is very active in that whole Sekech Tungwiza area, mobilizing people to register, bringing the community together, using his role as a member of parliament, as convening power to make sure that he does good in the community. The same can be said Honorable Godfrey Sithole. Godfrey Sithole was at the center of the investigation into the Ali murder. He's the person who went and reported the murder on the 25th of May, I believe it was, the very next day after she'd been taken at that shopping center. He was the one who was running around, who took the family everywhere, where there were leads, trying to investigate, because the police had effectively sat back. And it's those same community leaders who then, led the police to the well where Mo Blessing Ali was later found. And even after that, you've got no sincerity on the part of the police. All their statements are interested in doing is exonerating ZANU-PF and saying ZANU-PF is not responsible for what happened. It should never happen like that. The bottom line is all of these 15 are not convicts. There are three factors that have to be taken into account in a bail application. And even a first-year law student can tell you what these factors are. The first is, are you a flight risk? Are you likely to abscond from trial? The second is, are you likely to interfere with any witnesses? And the final one is, are you likely to commit another offense? Now, if you look at the circumstances of each of these leaders, and you pinpointed Godfrey Sithole, this applies to him, but it applies to all of them, when one considers it legally. They can be given bail conditions that ensure that they reside at their given addresses. They can be given bail conditions that ensure that they don't interfere with witnesses and don't speak to XYZ, whichever witness is being pinpointed. Obviously, these charges are not bona fide. Obviously, none of them have got a conviction against them, so it cannot be said that they're likely to commit another offense. It must be emphasized, just as I close on this point, that when Job Sikhala was doing all the running around he was doing in the More Blessing Ali case. He was doing it in his capacity as a legal practitioner. At first, he was acting for More Blessing Ali. He did some work on the habeas corpus application, on the missing person report before she was found dead. And then he was later engaged further by the family to be their spokesperson and act as a watching brief in respect of the prosecution of the alleged suspects. So it has to be, placed on record and always remembered that it's not as though, Job Sikhala was arrested doing something else or doing something for his own family. He was actually executing his professional duties as a lawyer, which makes his arrest and persecution detention in Chikurubi maximum prison, and he's in D section. D section is the dangerous section where you've got your your worst murderers, your armed robbers, etc., all your dangerous criminals. What justification is there for him and Godfrey Sithole to be held under those conditions as though they've committed a crime? You can see that ZANU-PF is in panic mode, and that takes me to the issue that I raised earlier, that we have to register to vote. They know that if the people vote, people will succeed. So they're trying to do everything that they can to suppress the vote wherever they can, to try and stop people in Nyatsime from supporting the Triple C, to try and stifle us, to try and limit our resources. You heard just the other day Patrick Chinamasa saying, no, we now want to create a law where every party has to be registered. Now, if this were a bona fide suggestion, no one would have any problem with it. But what's clear is that they want to weaponize the enactment of a new abusive law like MOPA, like all the other laws that curtail free speech, free conscience, free political expression, to try and suppress the operations of the Triple C, which is something we cannot as citizens ever allow to have happen. And this is really not about any particular political party per se, but it's just about the freedom that we're entitled to as citizens to exercise our freedoms in peace. Right now, with the Nyatsime 15, democracy is on trial. Freedom is on trial. The very constitution upon which this great nation is founded is on trial because they've done violence to all of the principles that any lawyer knows to be sacrosanct. So we really cannot sit back and watch. So as we do everything that we do, we must bear in mind that this injustice is taking place and express huge solidarity to all of those who are facing persecution.
Thank you very much, Advocate Mahere. And as you've already stated as well, it's very important that all of us register, that we get our relatives to register, our neighbors and friends, because they will keep spreading hopelessness and despondency, telling people that it doesn't matter, but voting does matter. And for us to be able to overcome the system, to overwhelm the system, we have to vote in large numbers. We have to register in large numbers and vote in large numbers, because the rigging is up to a certain number and then it becomes impossible to rig. So that's why we have to make sure people get IDs right now during this ID exercise that's ongoing, and then we get them to register to vote. For me, Advocate, it's about the weaponization of the state essentially against senior opposition leaders. They've done that before. You speak of Dumiso Tarengo, you speak of Lookout Masugo. That's what they do. They go after the leaders of opposition so that to essentially keep them in jail, to keep them in going for bail hearings, to keep them facing these cases, so that they cannot focus on building a formidable opposition. And I hope and I know Triple C knows what has happened between 1999 and 2021. And I'm sure you guys are aware of that, and you guys are working on that. And hopefully everything goes according to plan as we go into 2023. We've been joined by Trinos Chuma. Baba Chuma, Linjan.
Hello, PK. Before you allow, Trinos to speak, I just received a message from Advocate Mahere. She says that she can spare us a bit more time. She will be able to let us know, what time she would be leaving. So, guys, I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Advocate. So perhaps we can ask people to donate a little bit more, before we can allow her to speak and address the questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And as well, today we've managed so far to raise $343.71 after fees. So thank you very much to everybody who's donated. The donation link is shared space just above. Please click on the link and it will, the minimum donation you can make is $5. So right now we're sitting at 57% of our target, which is $3,000, so that you can access to the 3 rural wards in Bulilima Rural District Council. Thank you very much. Please continue donating, and those who are requesting to speak, we will be vetting you. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Chuma. Sebo.
Everybody, I'm so much pleased to hear you. Almost to be in the same platform as usually. I would like to thank our advocate Mahere. Thank you very much for the good job that you are doing for us every now and then, risking and leaving all your personal attention things, but looking at the nation as you are doing, standing for us in every corner. We also thank the president. Thank you on our behalf that good job you have put in. We are so pleased about the citizens choosing their own candidates. Today, I was invited by other people in Bulilima that we are encouraging so that they can choose themselves and organize themselves so that they are ready when it's time for candidates. Because I saw last week when the people were trying to get the candidates to go to court, it was a little bit of a problem, and another candidate who they wanted to get through did not manage because there was a little bit of some doing all these things in time will make us to get these elections in Bulilima West back to CCC. And also I would like to thank all the contributors in this space that are doing a good job. BK, I've just done my donation. I don't know whether it's my system, my bank I've accepted everything, so it will be coming through as well. And also I would thank the host who are all here, who always remind us to be on the space at certain times. And everybody else, Zimbabwe needs a change. What I'll ask Advocate Mahere, since you said you've been going around the world, if we come into power, what is the promise about growing the economy? What will you do with small towns like Plumtree that are a big border gate and a lot of revenues coming through, but from 1980 they've never been developed to anything? What will happen when we come into power? So those are the questions that I want to know, as I'm one of the people who are in Bulilima trying to find out how can we encourage the people to go and register, because people have just deserted registering. I've been inquiring about the young people, the youth that I've been talking to around on social media. They said, what is the use of going to vote, because we are how do we get them to go and register as soon as possible? We are trying by all means in Bulilima to put resources in place so that we can help those young people. Thank you very much. I don't have anything more to say, but to say agangene umfana agangene ngapinde mbisana ngapinde. Ngiyabonga. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that contribution. I'm going to tackle the first question you raised around how we propose to grow the economy, especially in areas like Mat South, Bulilima, and other such areas. Now, one of the biggest things of ZANU-PF has been the failure to implement the devolution clauses of the Constitution. Devolution means that, local areas must govern themselves, must benefit from that come from those areas, and must have an equitable share of the nation's resources. Now, if you're being governed by persons who have no respect for those basic principles, no respect for community leadership, no respect for the fact that the national cake must be shared equally. You know, it's a travesty that we lose $2 billion every single year to corruption. Mind you, Egypt just implemented, you know, the building of a big rail system that cost them $2 billion. This is the amount of money that we loot, or that ZANU-PF loots every single year in corrupt deals. Even if you look at the amount of money that we lose to illicit gold flows, we lose $100 million every single month to illicit gold deals. So what that tells you is that Zimbabwe is not poor. You know, people in Bulilima are not poor. People in Material South are not poor. We are poorly managed. So what we propose as the Triple C when we get into government is to fix the economic issue. Economic fundamentals. By that I mean we have to restore trust and confidence. We have to restore respect for property rights. We have to stabilize the currency. You can't have a situation where you've got, you know, 5 different currency regimes: an eco-cash rate, an RTGS rate, you know, a bank rate, an official rate, an auction rate, a black market rate. That points to some sort of crisis with the currency. What we have proposed to do is that in the short term, we're going to dollarize to stabilize the currency. And then in the longer term, because dollarization is not sustainable for the longer term, we're going to obviously implement a currency board and make sure that they roll out a currency that's sustainably managed to ensure that we don't have the rip in the rate that we currently are experiencing as a nation. It's a source of embarrassment that we've got the highest hyperinflation rate in the world. It's barely 2 decades ago where we had that, 2008 crisis. How are we again? You know, does this regime never learn any lessons from its mismanagement? Clearly not. So we need new leaders who've got the competence and capacity to solve the economy. The other thing that will be done is to ensure that this question of wage erosion is dealt with sustainably. You can't have a situation where a teacher's earning $30 to $50. You can't have a situation where doctors are barely earning $100. You call it however many thousands in Zim dollars you like, but clearly at these wages that we purport to be enough. In fact, it's a slap in the face to the hard work that they put into, trying to keep our hospitals, our schools going, to pay them the amount of money that we're paying them. And I think we've said on record that we must go back to the civil servant wage rates that we had, when the government of national unity was in place, when Honorable Tendai Biti was Minister of Finance, where we had teachers earning at the very least $540. So you can sustainably pay your rent, send your kids to school, put food on the table, and have dignity as a worker, as a civil servant, as a professional. The other thing that we intend to deal with is the corruption crisis. Like I said, we're losing billions and billions to corruption. That's money that should go into the fiscus. We're going to further pursue fiscal consolidation. We've got a long-standing debt crisis that has to be resolved. We cannot continue to operate as a pariah economy. The economy needs to be reintegrated, into the community of nations. You can't have a situation where Zimbabwe's international isolation continues. And I think President Nelson Chamisa is also on record saying that we as the Triple C have got a sustainable pathway to end Zimbabwe's international isolation so that we can continue or start to trade again with other countries, foster an economy, where the innovation is possible, where you can farm sustainably, land tenure is restored. People must have land that is bankable. People must be able to borrow on their land. We need to resolve the land crisis or the land issue, the land question once and for all. We have to ensure that we build an entrepreneurial society where innovation is rewarded, where people can start businesses without fear of those businesses being taken away. We must must ensure that we make Zimbabwe a destination where big capital is safe. Truly open Zimbabwe for business, not in the manner in which Mr. Mnangagwa and his regime have done it, where they actually scare big capital away. You see Old Mutual being closed unilaterally. You see the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange being closed without any notice. You see EcoCash being hounded. You see Econet being, chased. You can't have a situation where, companies who are trying to operate in this very difficult environment are actually being, chased and called saboteurs. You see corporate leaders being nailed for no reason at all. It's not their fault that Mr. Mthuli Ncube has created the crisis we have. So things you won't see in the news Zimbabwe.
I'm sorry, did you just lose the advocate, Mahere? Yeah, I think we lost the advocate. She'll go with us just now. And I just want to say thank you very much to everybody who's come through, and thank you to, I think we just received 2 more donations here. Yero Mem, thank you very much, and Tammy, thank you very much. You can go ahead, Sarah.
Hi, BK. Yeah, I'm just calculating. So we've got 41% of our goal to achieve. So that is $1,230. We have 264 speakers. So yeah, if everybody puts $5, we can actually achieve our goal. We know that many of you have already donated so far, so please just remember that $30 can take our donation link up by 1%. $30 can buy 6 t-shirts, $20 can buy 1,000 flyers, 1,000 flyers can go to 1,000 printing flyers in the local languages, in Bulilima, in Ndebele and Kalanga. And we are trying to get the message to those constituents that change is coming. We need to also support our councillors that have been handpicked by the communities and they've been vetted by community organisations. So we need to also show them our support so that the citizens in those areas have confidence in CCC and also have confidence coming up to the presidential elections next year. So please, if you haven't made a donation already, we would ask that you consider making any donation from $5 up. The link is shared at the top. It's also shared in the chat space. If you go down to the bottom of your screen, there's a chat going on. We've been sharing who's made the donation. So thank you very, very much. And yeah, we still have Advocate Mahere with us. Thank you very much for your time, Advocate. She's agreed to also stay in space for a little bit than originally intended. So we do really appreciate your extra time, and we know that your time is valuable. So to all of the listeners, I'm sure you value hearing what she has to say. So please, can you show your support using the link at the top for donation? Thanks, BK.
Thank you, Sarah. I just received a $30 donation from Visore Kondo. That's a 10% up. And Sarafina Munikwa, thank you for the $30 donation as well. So we're now sitting at 60%. For us to hit our goal, we need $1,200. Thank you very much to everybody for the donations, and thank you to everybody for making sure that they are communicating with their relatives, friends, and neighbors to register to vote, and as well as to have these discussions with family to try to reverse the voting trends of 2018 so that we can win Zimbabwe for change. Another 5 years of ZANU-PF will destroy the country. ZANU-PF has had 42 years. They have failed in all those 42 years. And there is no way they're going to reform or change. There is no way they're going to govern the country differently from what they have done over the past 40 So there's nothing redeeming about ZANU-PF. Ignore all the antics about Chiwenga taking over from Mnangagwa or Kasukuwere or whatever. That is still ZANU-PF. The problem in Zimbabwe is ZANU-PF. It's the entire system, it's the entire structure, it's ZANU-PF. That is what has destroyed Zimbabwe. So let's organize for Triple C. Let's mobilize for Triple C. Let's fund Triple C. And let's vote for Triple C next year. Thank you very much. Zuko?
Yes, indeed, my brother BK there. We need to do everything we can to fund the movement. I know a lot has already been done. Like you said, the statistics that you are talking about, it shows that just today we've already done a lot compared to some other previous times, but I am very sure that we can actually do much more. If we can push until we reach another percentage or another 10%. 10% is $300, if I'm not mistaken. That's 10% of 3,000. So we can push another 10% at least. And to those who are listening, kindly request the mic, come and interact with Advocate Mahere, come and ask questions, come and support Bulilima, so that we can at least have a very, very lively conversation. Our aim is if we could get to 100% by tomorrow night, that means the more we do today, the less we do tomorrow. So let's come and I know my brother Max there. I would like you to come and say something, ask a question. My sister J. Ella, request the mic, come say something, interact with Advocate. My sister Noki, sister Priscilla Maikuku, come and take the mic and interact with Advocate, ask some questions. And I can see Advocate is back. Over to you, Advocate.
Sorry, I'm not sure where the line cut off, but we basically, I was saying in response to Trinos' question that we've got a comprehensive plan to ensure that we fix the economy, which includes stabilizing the currency, dollarizing, implementing currency board, pursuing fiscal consolidation, restoring the value of workers' wages, ensuring that we curb the corruption pandemic, which is costing the fiscus 2.2 billion every single year, with illicit gold flows, which are costing the fiscus $100 million every single month, deal with the extreme poverty crisis. Currently 49% of Zimbabweans, which is effectively 1 in 2, is suffering from extreme poverty. We're going to deal with that by ensuring that the economy starts to work for more people, ensure that there's respect for property rights, ensure that there's space for to operate without interference, without being called economic saboteurs, without being hamstrung by the government, and ensuring that also workers, the rights of workers are also restored. So those are some of the highlights that we've got. Obviously, we have to resolve the debt crisis as well and ensure that we end Zimbabwe's international isolation so that we can also be reintegrated into the international economy as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Advocate. I can see we have Brian, then Priscilla. You can ask your questions. A minute each, maximum 1.5 minutes of asking questions. So Brian, maybe go ahead.
Okay, just before Brian speaks, just a reminder that the link is at the top. So if you can just keep those donations coming through to show your support for Advocate Mahere and show your support for the Bulilima community. Thank you, Brian. You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. How is everybody doing? My thing is, it's not a question as such, but I just wanted to say, I know that CCC has the capacity to fix Zimbabwe's situation and I don't doubt them because they have people that are very qualified in many positions, and I trust their intellectual capacity. But my worry is, guys, is on the ZEC organization, on how are we going to make sure that they are not going to rig elections, because I'm still worried about the issue of reforms in that organization, and the current appointments that they have made. They're also at a very huge red flag. How are we going to make sure that these guys don't rig elections? Because as we know, Mnangagwa is not shameful. He's going to call any shot, no matter how big it is, no matter how embarrassing it is. So how are we going to avoid all this? Because those ZEC officials, I don't know them, but I don't think they are willingly going to allow CCC to take over, because they know what's going to come after that. So how are we going to make sure that the numbers are not manipulated, the results are not manipulated, and all that? Thank you.
Over to you, Advocate.
Right. Thank you so much. So we hosted a press briefing last week where we indicated in very clear terms that the electoral reform agenda is the foremost agenda for the citizens in 2022. We cannot, as a nation, afford another disputed election. Now, I just want to make it, I want to emphasize the point that it's not a question of ZEC allowing the CCC to take over if we win. It's about, the real issue is about citizens ensuring that they defend the vote so that we win and are able to safeguard our victory in 2023. So if they appoint a dodgy commissioner, if they sponsor traditional leaders to set up bases that are paying people to vote for ZANU-PF, we cannot as citizens stand back and say we've been defeated. We have got a duty to ensure that we defend the vote. And as the CCC, we've been very clear about the 7 reform areas that we're focused on the full implementation of the right to vote, which includes implementation of the diaspora vote, the prison vote, making sure that all young people have access to ID documents, making sure that there is a sincere voter registration in place. It cannot be the case that young people and old whom we mobilize go to ZEC and, the offices, whether it's Cecil House or at whichever location throughout the country, and they're told that there is no ZESA or the ZEC machines are not working. The right to vote must be fully facilitated. Secondly, there must be a credible voters' roll. Cannot have a situation where people get to, their polling station, the polling station to which they've been assigned on voting day, and then they're told their name is not on the roll. They must go to every single polling station in their ward to try and look for their voters' roll. Has to be credible, and the electoral law requires that we should have a voters' roll with people's faces on it, so that if you say that there are 100 Fadzayi Maheres in Mount Pleasant, we're able to see with photographs that these are completely different people and there are no ghost voters or in nature. You can't have a situation where you're just told on, a few days after the election that Mr. Mnangagwa got 51% of the vote. Polling station by polling station, ward by ward, constituency by constituency, what the total number of votes is. It must be then collated and put together, and then we all do the count, and we have our parallel voter tabulation and ensure that the count is a secure count. If you look at what happened on the 1st of August 2018, the violence that broke out was a result of the citizens not being satisfied. But ZEC was reading out its results. Instead of telling us the number of votes that party was receiving, we're just being given percentages. That should never fly. If you watch the electoral petition, which was broadcast on TV, one of the big failings of the 2018 election, which makes it hugely disputed, is that ZEC had conflicting numbers at various points as to how many votes they then was. We've also said that ZEC itself must be reformed. The Secretariat must not be militarized, commission independent and non-partisan as required by the Constitution. There has to be transparency in the procurement of polling material. There has to be consultation with stakeholders concerning the ballot paper, the indelible ink, etc. And we have said as the CCC that we believe that there should be a pre-electoral pact that sets out all these terms so that we all agree what the minimum standard is for a free and fair election, so that when we then go on election day, there isn't another the need for there to be security of the vote. This business of votes disappearing, votes not being accounted for must stop. Security of the voter, especially in rural areas. And we're going to see Bulilima is going to be a dry run in this regard. You can't have a situation where people are persecuted for being CCC. And then the seventh reform area we'd like is around media and political freedoms. We want a state media that's independent. It can't be the case that every single day on ZBC all we hear about are Mr. Mnangagwa and his wife and ZANU-PF. When President Chamisa has a rally, it's not spoken about. When the CCC wins elections, in Kariba and Chipinge, makes clean sweeps and all these wards and all these constituencies, it's complete silence from ZBC. That cannot be allowed. We also cannot have a situation where independent journalists are being persecuted. We saw what happened with the MH journalists this last week. That should not be allowed to continue. Journalists must be free to do their job. And then on political freedom, citizens get arrested for simply wearing yellow. They get beaten, they get tortured, they get abducted, they get murdered just for wearing yellow. We all know what happened to Mboneni in Kwekwe, and to date there's been no accountability for it. You wake up one day, you go to a political rally, a yellow rally, you come back as a corpse. We simply cannot allow that as we go into the 2023 election. So we are clamoring for reforms. It is the duty and imperative of every citizen to demand these reforms. These aren't reforms that are only going to benefit, political actors, but citizens have a right to ensure that their vote counts. We're celebrating Heroes Day tomorrow, and Heroes Day is about celebrating those who fought in the liberation struggle for one man, one vote. We cannot now, in 2023, have a situation where, ZANU-PF takes away that very freedom that so many people lost their lives for. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Advocate. I see Nonto, you can go ahead, my sister. And we've received 2 donations. Thank you very much, Gilbert, and another donor who prefers to remain anonymous. Thank you very much. Please use the link that's shared in the space or that's pinned in the handle. Share it on WhatsApp or retweet it. It goes a long way. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Nonto.
Oh, thank you, PK. Thank you so much, Advocate Mahere, for your responses to the questions that have been asked so far. I have one question that has been sent to my inbox. Looking at Bulilima by-elections, all candidates that have been put through a man. What systems have you got in places that ensure a gender balance in CCC, especially towards 2023 elections? Thank you. Over to you, Advocate.
That is a very important question, and obviously it raises an issue that's very close to my heart, one around women participation in the political system. And I'm going to ask it broadly, then I'm going to come to answer it broadly, then I'm going to come to Bulilima specifically. Now, if we look at the political environment in Zimbabwe, obviously we're dealing with a repressive, violent dictatorship. It's hard enough to be political in this environment, but it's 10 times harder to be a woman in this sort of political environment. And I just do want to give a challenge to citizens. As we conduct ourselves in the political system, look at whether or not we're making the electoral environment safer or less safe and more problematic for women. If you look at the violence that takes place, look at what happened to Joanna Cecilia Metsai. That does not inspire women to participate in the political process. More Blessing Ali was a prolific woman. She was a women's activist, but she was also a community organizer. What happened to her? You can't have a situation when are abducted, murdered in cold blood, and society just sits back and acts as though it's normal. We continue to drink our lattes, to drink our coffee as though nothing has happened. Look at the way women are treated in the media. Look at how women are online. Look at how women in rural areas, are taunted, are persecuted, or unsafe. Their children are threatened when they participate in politics. That really has to change at a macro level if we want to see more women participating in electoral space. But coming now to the CCC, we do have a gender parity policy, and we're going to be very deliberate about ensuring that women have the space to participate in the 2023 election. We have said that a selection process is going to be community driven. There's going to be a community candidate selection process, meaning that communities are going to decide who they want to represent them. So I encourage communities to put it forward. I encourage communities to ensure that women are safe enough to put their hands up, and I encourage women to participate, because that's how we're going to see more women in the political space. And we're doing what we can as a movement to ensure that women are trained, women are equipped. And I think of all the political parties, I think we've been one of the most proactive in ensuring that women participate. And it's not just about PR representation, but genuine, we've got so many examples. We've got the example of Judith Tabawa in the most recent Kwekwe by-election, who did very well against a ZANU-PF entrenched candidate. We've got the example of Joanna Mamombe and a number of others who've done extremely well, but we need to grow that number to ensure that there are lots of women. So I encourage the women in Bulilima. We're going to be coming out there, building the capacity of women, encouraging women to stand up, because we need women to represent that whole. It's about representation. You can't have a whole group, a whole gender that represents 51% of the population not being represented in the political space. They have to be there. And a lot of the issues that society faces, if you look at the dysfunction in maternity clinics, if you look at what's happening around, the crisis with young women, sanitary wear, the right to education for young girls, child marriages, all of these are issues that have to be championed, by women who experience and live these struggles every single day. So we have to see more women in politics. And as the CCC, we guarantee that we're going to use every tool available to us to ensure that more women participate in the political process.
Thank you very much, Advocate. Thank you. And I think is it 16? One of the candidates in Bulilima, she's a community leader, a woman who's going to be participating, who's going to be contesting on behalf of CCC. I think Priscilla has been waiting for a bit. I'll just check my details and then confirm which what she's contesting in for CCC. Thank you.
Yes, BK, sorry to interject before Priscilla speaks. I've just received a message that Advocate Mahere is going to be leaving us in 10 minutes. Perhaps if we allow all our speakers to speak at least a minute or 30 seconds each, and then maybe we can round up and call it a day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just like Nonto has said, you can go ahead, Priscilla. Thank you.
Thank you, and hello, Fadzayi. Thank you so much, ladies, Nantogozo and Sarah, for all your hard work. I know, BK, you are supporting them and doing a great job.
Hi, Priscilla.
Hi. My question to you, Fadzayi, is social media. How effective is it? If there's any or has it got any influence at all on the people on the ground in terms of mobilizing young people to register to vote? And what else do you want us to do? Speaking for myself and many other keyboard warriors that are really, really passionate about change in Zimbabwe, but we are on the ground with you guys. How can we help?
That's a beautiful question, Priscilla. And to answer it very directly, social media is certainly effective in driving social change generally anywhere in the world. And it obviously is one of the decisive influences of the electoral process. And if you look at the increased internet penetration rate in Zimbabwe, you'll see that messages get spread through social media. So in rural areas, for example, you'll see people gathering around one phone. They receive the Studio 7 bulletin and they all listen to it from that one phone. People circulate messages. A lot of the time, you'll recall that the CCC barely had a month to spread the message of change prior to the 26th March by-election. We were born on the 24th of January. We didn't have much time, and social media was one of those anchored tools that assist in driving the message of change home. So I want to reassure you that it's one of the tools, media tools that we use, obviously accompanied. There's no substitute for cold, hard grassroots mobilization. We will go door to door in every single street, in every single village. That mass mobilization program is going on. But we're going to reinforce the organic messages we send by, using tools such as WhatsApp, using tools such as Facebook, even Twitter, to ensure that we get the message across, including to the young, which is where things like TikTok and Instagram become very important. There's no such thing as a keyboard warrior per se. We're all citizen warriors together. We're all fighting. It doesn't matter where you're located. Some of us are here in Zimbabwe. Some of you are abroad. For those who are abroad, I would ask maybe for 3 or 4 things. The first is to champion fighting for the diaspora vote. I urge citizens who are in the diaspora to institute litigation to ensure that the diaspora vote is implemented in 2023. Section 155 of the Constitution is very clear that there are only 2 qualifiers for one to be able to vote in a Zimbabwean election. The first is that you're a citizen. The second is that you're above 18. There is no limit or prohibition that relates to location. So long as you can attach yourself to a polling station, you should be good to go, and they should allow that, which is why you've got the diaspora vote. Those who work in embassies, those who are serving on military missions abroad. We expect that to be expanded to cover the diaspora. Mozambique does it, South Africa does it, Botswana does it. There really is no excuse for Zimbabwe not to implement the diaspora vote. The second thing is for those in the diaspora to volunteer. And I'm not just talking about money, and a lot of it is being done already, but let's contribute. Are there any graphic designers? Are there any people who, have any particular talents, who are good at, analysis? We are shortly going to be rolling out a big volunteer program. And because so much work can be done virtually now, let's all plug into that. Don't view the fact that you're abroad as a limitation. You can absolutely participate. In fact, being abroad is an advantage because they're not just going to come to your house in Mount Pleasant, pick you up and arrest you because you've got a big mouth and you tweeted something. You've got that safety. So let's capitalize on that to also, build and strengthen the movement. Obviously, resource mobilization, as we are doing this a little bit, in the rollout is coming, so that we really plug in and make sure that we all put our dollar. So, for example, in South Africa, there are 2 million Zimbabweans, it's estimated. So imagine if each of those contributed just $1 to the cause of change. That would be $2 million. And that $2 million can do huge things for the movement. It can buy us an HQ. It can get our comm center running. It can get vehicles. for us to do our mugwazo, our rural mobilization, etc. If there, let's say 500,000 Zimbabweans in the UK, that's a ballpark. If each of them, contribute 5 quid, that could go so far to ensuring that we win the election in 2023. So let's plug in with resource mobilization as well. And then also, I think there's need for everybody to be on the same page. We are building something new. So with that, obviously, everybody resists change. Change is not always comfortable, but let's have a positive attitude around the kind of change we're trying to build. Of course, the room for improvement can never be filled. I always say that, we must be criticized, but in that criticism, let's also ensure that we offer a solution. But in addition to offering the solution, we're part of the solution that we are advocating for. So let's get rid of some negative talk. So the negative talk includes elections don't work. Let's replace elections don't work with how are we going to make sure the election in 2023 works and delivers change for the citizen. How are we going to ensure that our vote counts? How many polling agents are we sponsoring? How many polling agents are we training? Let's make sure that every single vote counts. So ZANU-PF is the one that sponsors the narrative that elections don't work. ZANU-PF is the one that sponsors the narrative that no, ZEC will never let you take power. Frankly, once you've got your V11s, once you can demonstrate that you attain the 6 million votes, they won't be able to stop you. But it requires us to have registered to vote in our numbers. It requires us to have turned out in our millions on voting day, and to ensure that we have defended the vote in the aftermath. Once we've done just those 3 things of the citizens, let us. And we saw examples of this in Zambia. In Zambia, it was said that no, Lungu will never allow, Hichilema to take over. And look what happened. In Malawi, there was, the observers had all said, look, the election is fine, it's free, it's fair. The citizens they said no. They were like, no, we are defending our vote. We're not satisfied with the way in which this election has taken place, and so we're going to do everything we can to defend it. And that's where they are now. So why do we believe ourselves to be unique as Zimbabweans? Was it not Ian Smith who said, never in a million years will we have majority rule in Zimbabwe? And where are we now? We will rule forever. He'll even rule from the grave. Where are we now? So why is it that we believe that these old men who've continuously failed us, who can barely have a currency stand, who can barely hold together the economy, why do we allow them? Why are we prepared to give them the power to hold an entire nation, millions of people, 15 million people at ransom because they won't allow us? Citizens have the power. And once we understand the power that we have, I swear, big things will happen. Thank you. So let's encourage young people to vote in all the spaces that we are. Like, even if it's a birthday message, even if it's a quote, whatever it is, just throw in your register to vote. Let's make the hashtag trend and trend continuously. Let's make sure that we have our narrative, a narrative that's going to set us free and give us a better life as citizens, being the dominant narrative.
Thank you very much, Advocate. So what I'm going to ask, guys, remember that Advocate Lamek and Tichafa and Titus, they've been on the waiting list for a while. Please, briefly, I'll start with Titus, then Lamek, then Tichafa. Please, in 30 seconds. Maybe if you can make it a comment, that would be very helpful. And then CCC Europe, and I see there's Mambo Soswe, I'm sure. Then there's Beauty as well afterwards. Please go ahead, Titus, Lamek, Tichafa, Beauty, then Max.
Wow, sorry, BK, for interjecting. So remember that we are fundraising today, guys. BK, you have been too kind. Guys, can I just ask you to, contribute? If you can, donate a little bit. Our guest, I think her time is up already. She has already asked us, I think she asked that if she's finishing at 9:10, which I think if we really could try to, we want to appreciate her staying longer. We could contribute a bit more. If we can ask everyone who is in this space, to donate whatever they can, every little helps. Asizameni, let us try. And then after that, if we look at our account, then we can allow everybody, to have the 30 minutes that you have requested a host. Thank you. So I'm not too sure if we can make a special requisition to our advocate, if she can allow us at least 20 minutes, and then we can then take it that way. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Abel Tigere for the donation. Greatly appreciated. And as Sisnonto has said, please guys, we're asking for donations. So far today we have raised $425 after our fees. So to get us to $500. So as already stated, Tichafa can go ahead, Lamek, Titus, then Beauty.
Thank you guys. Thank you everyone. Thank you everyone. I would like to welcome Advocate Mahere on his presence. Actually, what I want to go straight is on the issue of fundraising. I think the party should be very clear and organized. Make those accounts to be available now, and so that we start contributing whatever we can find in our capacity to raise the fundraising, so that the party or everyone, citizens, could have the access to especially the agents or the voting agents, which we all know need this, especially on the voting day and towards the voting day for their day-to-day contribution towards the election day. Actually, the other thing I want to throw to Mahere is on the rural voters. I think the party should leadership should specifically prioritize the rural areas to mobilize voters voting, because that is where it is lacking. In towns, we have got much communication and everything we have. It's just a polishing up. So the issue is on the rural areas where we have got down.
Tishafa, thank you very much. No, noted, and I'm sure that will respond to you just now. So I'm going on to Lamek. Guys, please, as Sisnonto has asked you, please be clicking on the link and donate. Minimum donation is $5. It will go a long way. Please and thank you very much. Lamek, you can go ahead, please. Thank you. Are you there, Lamek? Okay, I'll go to Titus. Titus, please go ahead.
Thank you, host. Thank you for all the calls as well. Thank you, Advocate Fadzayi, for availing yourself to interact with us. I think my question, you've kind of touched on it when you answered Priscilla. So I was just going to ask to say, obviously we see a pattern of continuous incarceration of political players. This is something that will probably happen as we go towards the elections. If you look at it, there's a lot of people, either they're in prison or they're on bail reporting, I think including you, Fadzayi. There's the three ladies, so we've got Marco. There's a whole lot of people that is either in prison or you're pensioned. So this trajectory that we see from the government, what is it that we as citizens can do, obviously, because I think there will be targeted approaches of big political players, just so that by the time we have elections, most people might be, you'll be answering those bail conditions that are stringent, or you'll be in prison. Is there anything that we as citizens can continuously do, or as a party that, we know that these flimsy charges are will continue through. So is there anything that we can do? I think that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Titus. Thank you to Victor
I
for
was
the
meant
$50
to
donation.
speak and something happened
Linda,
to my phone.
Okay, that's okay, Lamek. Just a second. Thank you to Victor for the $50 donation. To Linda and Patrick Zotti for the donation as well. Thank you very much. Lamek, you can go ahead. 30 seconds, please.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, before you come through. BK, I've just received another advocate, really is about to go. I think she's got to go somewhere just now. Perhaps if you give everyone 30 seconds, half a minute, and then she can respond to all the questions at once if she can, and then we sum up and we call it a day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lamek, you go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. I will try also to make it even shorter than that. I only want to bring back Advocate Mahere to the issue of the commissioners, especially those commissioners who were, maybe they were co-opted or they were chosen in, and we all know that they swear allegiance to ZANU because they are related to ZANU PF, big people. What is CCC going to do about it? Are you going to have them taken off? Because definitely they won't be impartial. They will take sides. That much we know. Again, if you could elaborate, how did they get chosen?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lamek, for the. Due to the limitations of time, we'll move over. I'm sure your question, she has gotten a question and she'll respond. Beauty, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. My question is, where can we find the biographical profiles of all the candidates that contest in these elections? Because it seems like our candidates are never profiled in terms of their biographies, their own personal campaign manifestos and stuff like that, like we see in all other countries in terms of candidates. I don't know, where can we find all that information?
Thank you very much, BUT. I'll move on to Max.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Fadzi. My question is, can we have a suggestion? Can we have a performance appraisals for our deployees in parliament and in council? I think it's high time we check on their performance so that we don't continue to put people who are incompetent in the parliament. And my last question will be, can we have debates amongst our contestants so that it improves actually on the choices that we make? Can we have debates amongst our contestants?
Thank you very much, Max. Guys, like right now, 265 people in this space. If at least 10 of them give us $5, 15 or 20, it will go a long way. Thank you very much, Max. I'll go over to Chicago, I think.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity. But Advocate, I've got one issue, especially with people who are around South Africa, because something about those people go home to make sure that people from study, especially because they want people who are holding access to the effective in that. In terms of this improvement of economic situation.
Guys, can you hear Chicago really well?
No.
Please, if you can drop down to listeners, then request the mic back, and then I'll let Advocate Mahere to go ahead. And this Mambo so I think there's Mambo so then there's Citizen Europe. Before Advocate responds to everybody. Thank you, and thank you for the donations that are coming in. Everybody, please use the link in the space. Please donate while we have Mambo Soswe and Citizen Europe come through. Then we'll have Advocate Mahere do her response.
Thank you, BK. I also have a program that is coming up, but I could not go before. I appreciate the good work that our advocate is doing. Thank you, Advocate. for always availing yourselves to the citizens whenever they want to interact you. And to you, BK, Stalin Nyati, and all the other guys in CC Mtwakazi, thank you for the good work that you're doing in Matabeleland, Bulilima, and Bulawayo as far as voter registration is concerned. And to all the champions here, please, let's, if you have already donated, that's good. But share this link with your relative, with your friends. I've already shared with, with all the groups that I am in. And I know there are about 3 people that are going to come here and donate. Thank you so much, guys, for the work that you're doing. We need to win these wards in Bulilima. I was talking to organizing champion. You were saying these wards are winnable. So if we put in our work, we can win them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mamboso. So greatly appreciate it. And thank you very much also for the donation. We've got Citizen CCC Europe. Lisa, thank you as well for the donation you made earlier. Please go ahead.
Ngiyabonga Peggy. Thank you, host, and everyone who is here. Thank you, Advocate, for being here. So the first question that I would like to pose to you is, what assurance can you give to the citizens who are here today that the selection process that's being done is truly community driven? We know the struggle that women have to be appointed or for their names to be pushed forward. So what assurance can we give the citizens that this is truly community driven, not an inner circle thing that's being done? What verification process is being done by the party to make sure that it's truly community driven? And the second question that I would like to pose to you is, how can we continue to motivate Ama2K? I was in a different space and people were trying to engage on this. How can we get them involved? Thank you so much, Advocate. And thank you everyone for your good work that you're doing.
Thank you very much. Advocate Mahere can go ahead now. Nondo, I saw you unmuting your mic.
No, that's okay. We've got limited time. I think we can allow Advocate to pose the questions, and then we can, sum up and we call it a day. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, host. So what I'm going to do, I've got about 10 questions that were asked here. I'm going to respond to each one in turn. Now, the first question was around making the fundraising accounts of the CCC available so that citizens can contribute more sustainably. I can give this contributor the assurance that that is something that we are going to shortly launch, a comprehensive fundraising platform for the citizens. So I take that suggestion on board. Be assured that we've got that top of mind. We're going to ensure that there's a platform for everybody to donate, and we'll be giving you feedback on how much has been raised, etc. The next question was around the rural vote and the need to prioritize rural areas. This is consistent with the feedback that we got in our Meet the People tours, which actually started last year. There was, a sense or sentiment across all provinces that there was need to focus on the rural vote so that we strengthen our grassroots presence there in villages in particular. So village by village, I can assure you that change champions everywhere. And if you'll allow me to thank very much all the change champions that are taking time out of their busy schedules almost every weekend to go out to the rural areas to ensure that they establish and strengthen those structures on a village to village basis. Thank you so much. I'm sure you saw, Honorable Wende posting about this. Honorable BT has posted about it. Maureen Kademaunga, Cecilia. There's so many people who are doing so much work, and I think it must always be remembered. There's a whole army of Triple C members who are spending so much time in the rural areas. So I do implore you, if someone is not on Twitter all the time, it doesn't mean they're not working. A lot of them are doing a lot of hard work, a lot of heavy lifting, and to try and establish, a grassroots presence in some of these communities and to penetrate them takes a lot of doing. So we want to thank them very much. So this is something that's critical. But that said, it's not a question of the Triple C choosing leaders for rural communities. Even when it comes to rural communities, they're going to select their own candidates. So it's not just about saying, Mahere, go and represent the people in Bulilima. That's never going to happen. We're going to ask the citizens themselves, even in those rural areas, who do you want to lead you? Because we want the leadership to be community-driven, to be bottom-up, to ensure that the people go back to their communities, they're embedded in those communities, they speak language and understand. And by language, I don't just mean the tongue. I mean, they are au fait or familiar with the issues that those respective communities face. So we've got a mass mobilization program that we actually rolled out, some months ago. It's called Mugwazo, if you ever hear about it. But obviously, we've got an interest in ensuring that our communities remain safe. So it's not something that we'll be talking about every single day. We're not going to go to Chivu. We are not going to go to Weds and then publish all the pictures of all the, systems that we've set up, because we need to ensure that these citizens remain safe. But please be assured that the rural penetration strategy is top of mind for us. I come to the question of the request for debates amongst contestants to improve the quality. This is a very good suggestion. We'll take it on board. It's something, especially as we march towards 2023, as we select candidates. I think part of that community candidate selection program will be candidates saying, look, this is what I plan to offer, this is my manifesto, this is what I hope to do for, whether it's Glenora community, whether it's Shabalala, whether it's Dangamvura, wherever it is, being able to champion the issues and articulate your value proposition, because every single leader must be, tested for their sincerity of motive, their plan for progress. That's actually one of the key things that we're emphasizing to improve the quality of the people who represent the communities that make up Zimbabwe. And, we no longer want to hear the complaint that you imposed a leader on us, or the leader that you gave us no longer comes back to us. It's going to be your leader, so you're going to take responsibility. If you pick who was it, Beauty, and you say, Beauty, we want Beauty to represent us in Bulawayo South, then you'll have the responsibility as the citizens of ensuring that Beauty comes back, holding that citizen to account. You'll know them, you'll know where they reside, you'll know how they can be contacted, just to improve, the quality of leadership. And to, the Triple C is sincere about this desire to put citizens at the center of all decision making. That is not just a tagline, it's not just rhetoric. It's something that we want to implement at all levels, which is why for some it appears like we're moving too slowly, but we'd rather do things slowly but get it right, and citizens are consulted and are at the center of all decisions that affect them. Then the question of appraisals for MPs and councils, this is an important point. I think it's important to say, we must give credit where it's due to the crop of Triple C leaders that have been elected post the 26th March by-election. So take, for example, the City of Harare councillors of the Triple C, who really, stood firm on the question of the Pomona deal, the question of the fire trucks, and a number of other issues. It's no longer business as usual in our councils. We can really see councillors standing up to the work of July Moyo, who continues to try to capture, local authorities, trying to implement deals on their behalf, corrupt deals that benefit ZANU-PF. And I think a lot of the councillors have been, quite busy in ensuring that, that is not done. Look at the MPs. Just this week, we had about 3 or 4 MPs conducting citizen feedback meetings. We had, Honorable Chikombo in Glenora, if I'm not mistaken. We had Honorable Charlton Wende, who is in Kwazana, giving feedback to the residents. A couple of weeks ago, we had Honorable Jacob Mafume in Ward 7 and Ward 17 giving a feedback meeting there to residents. And throughout the country, we really are insisting on, those who we've deployed going back to their communities and speaking. Now, obviously, the room for improvement can never be filled. We must ensure that those who we've deployed continue to do this and do this effectively and reach all citizens concerned. But the power lies with the people. If you have been being represented by Fadzayi for the last 20 years and you're not happy with the work that Fadzayi is doing, it is up to the citizens during the community candidate selection process to speak up, to say, no, we no longer want Fadzayi to represent us anymore because she's not meeting our needs. That really is our responsibility. And then someone asked for the bios of the people who contest as candidates. Again, we're going to roll out a detailed protocol for the community candidate selection process. And obviously, one of the important things is you have to know who is contesting, the story of the person who wants to stand, so that, when you're voting and when you're deciding and when you're selecting, you know exactly who it is. Do they live in the constituency or ward? What connection they have? What is their plan for progress? What have they done? What competencies do they carry? How familiar are they with the work of council or with the work of parliament? Can they be an effective contributor? So the citizens will have an opportunity to evaluate this in great detail. And then someone asked about the pattern of incarceration. What can we do? So this is obviously talking about Honorable Godfrey Sitole, Honorable Job Sikala, the Nyatsime 15 as a group, and then also those who might not be in jail at the moment but continue to face flimsy political charges and continue to have bail conditions imposed upon them. I can think offhand, there's Honorable BT, Honorable Karenyi Kore, there's Gladys Flachwayo, there is Mako, there is Joanna, Cecilia, there is a number of youth leaders as well who continue to face spurious charges. There is a whole gamut of people who are facing these charges, and the number continues to increase. Now, the first thing, what do we do as citizens? What we can't do is bury our heads in the sand and say, look, it's too difficult to participate in the political system. We are scared. We really do have to have a conversation around courage. Courage is very necessary. People must continue to stand up. What the regime wants is for us to be intimidated, for us to be cowed into silence. I mean, if you are arrested for tweeting, what they're trying to say to you is, we want you to stop tweeting. And the way we're going to do that is by throwing you into Chikurubi for 10 days so that you think twice before tweeting again. We cannot give them the satisfaction of going silent, of cowering, of burying our heads under the sand because we feel intimidated. If anything, there has to be stronger collective action on the part of the citizens. We have to come together more strongly. If one person rises up and protests, of course they're going to be arrested. But if there's a whole lot of us, if there are thousands of us, if there are tens of thousands of us, it becomes a very different matter altogether. And mind you, demonstrating is obviously our constitutional right, but there are so many other ways of peaceful resistance. Let's continue to have those Yellow Fridays. If Yellow Friday is called for, ensure you participate. If anything is called for, if there's a solidarity call, let's go and support Honorable Godfrey Sitole or Honorable Job Sikalo, the Nyatsime 15. Let's plug into those things. If there are GoFundMes for their family, I mean, imagine not being in work for 2 months. Of course, it's bound to affect your bottom line. So citizens, we have to pick up the tab on behalf of those who've been persecuted, those who have had their homes burnt. We have to participate as citizens, put our heads together, buy a brick each to ensure that their homes are restored. We have to remain engaged. We must never normalize incarceration. We must never normalize suffering. And I mean, I did note, conversation taking place around last week that, why isn't President Chamisa being arrested? Why isn't he being persecuted? We start to miss the point when we ask that as citizens, because nobody should be arrested for their beliefs. We must never normalize, let alone tolerate, political persecution, selective application of the law, weaponization of the legal system, abuse of the right to bail. Those things should never be normalized. And if anything, we should be calling for those who have been victims of this rogue system to be freed, instead of calling for more people to be arrested. Now, the next question that was asked was, what assurance can you give that the selection process will truly be community driven? And there was also the angle of women participation in that. Now, I want to emphasize that, this protocol around candidate community selection is going to be made public. It's not going to be a secret document that's hidden under President Chamisa's table. Everybody's going to know what criteria is going to be used. Everybody is going to know that now we are selecting our candidates. Everybody's going to know who is up for selection. Everyone's going to have an opportunity to put their hand up. And it really is up to the communities. Whether or not the system works depends on how much the citizens participate. So the onus really is on us to ensure that the system is truly robust, that we hold candidates to account, we ask the tough questions, we have courageous conversations around the kind of leadership we want to see in our respective communities, and ensure that we speak up when we are not happy about any particular leader, and we choose carefully. Before you say we want Fadzayi, really analyze her plan for progress. What is she offering? I'm not saying I'm going to run. I'm just giving myself as an example. Just the name. What kind of leader do you want? Does this person measure up? And the assurance that I can give you is that we're going to create a platform. We're going to create the space for citizens to not only stand, but also to choose, to ask, to speak, to act. And obviously, we are doing everything we can to ensure that there's gender parity in the process. The participation of women is so important. I've already emphasized that prior. Now, the final question that was asked was, how can we motivate AMA 2K? Now, what I can say is voting works, elections work, everybody must register to vote. That said, I do not judge those who say, well, I don't feel like registering, because I was that young person at one time. And, I'm very fortunate that the penny eventually dropped. But now that I'm in this position of, understanding and privilege, and I say privilege in the sense that I understand the power that voters have. It's not a question of judging those who are yet to see what I'll call the light. So we all have a responsibility not to insult AMA 2K. We have a responsibility not to be judgmental to young people who say that they don't want to register to vote, or they'd rather be sipping champagne and painting. I mean, I went to an event last week where young people were literally sipping champagne, painting, and doing some karaoke. I mean, I felt like going to the karaoke bar and saying, give me the mic, and just shouting, please register to vote, because I knew that most of the people who were there hadn't registered to vote. So we have to penetrate these spaces, but even more fundamentally than penetrating those spaces and making sure the message gets to them, we have to also give AMA 2K a voice. Hear them out. Let them champion their own campaigns. So it's not a question of Fadzayi dancing on TikTok and saying, please register to vote to some, Burna Boy song or whatever it is that's cool. It's about getting champions within that age range. Champions who are 17 years old, who are 18 years old, who are 19 years old, creating space for them to participate. And when they do participate, let's not be judgmental. Let's allow them to express themselves the way they can. Let's not be gatekeepers and say, well, I've been in legal practice for 15 years, so I understand what politics is about and you don't. Give them the space to articulate what they want. Let's hear their thoughts about the kind of Zimbabwe that they're experiencing. What do they believe is not working? What do they believe the solution to the crisis is. Let's hear them out. Let's understand what kind of leaders do they want. You'll sit in a space and you'll hear young people say, oh no, Fadzayi Mahere that. Instead of saying, oh no, Fadzayi Mahere that, Anna Koka that, don't attack our leaders. Let's hear, what does that actually look like? What is it that you want these leaders to have that they don't possess? How can we plug in? How can we have more youth champions? Instead of maybe having, Fadzayi speak all the time, Fadzayi address a press conference, why not rope in an AMA2K and say, you know what, you're going to do the Election Watch update this week. And in this Election Watch update, you are going to do a call to action to your generation and encourage them to vote. And you explain to them why voting is important for your generation. Your generation is the generation that has only bathed out of a bucket, that has not experienced tap water, that has not experienced street lights, that has not experienced an ATM. Would you not want, why is it that in order to just experience a decent life, you have to go to South Africa? What needs to be done? How do we fix that? And we give them the voice and the platform. So I think, with all due respect to all the work that we are doing, myself included, and here, as you can see, I'm not speaking to anyone directly, but I'm also speaking to ourselves, those in leadership, those who are championing things so far. The room for improvement can never be filled. Let's improve. Let's make politics more inclusive. The reason a lot of us didn't, believe in the system at the time that we didn't feel represented. We didn't feel like there were any leaders articulating our issues. How many AMA2K leaders do we have, speaking on a daily basis about the drugs crisis, speaking on a daily basis around problems with mental health, alcoholism, the issues that they feel, are important to them. And we mustn't attack them, we mustn't criticize them, but we really must give them space. So with that, I think I've canvassed each of the questions that were raised. I want to say a huge thank you to all the hosts for the very important work that you're doing for our candidates, our 3 candidates in Bulilima. I know that we can beat ZANU-PF. Our champion organizers already said that ZANU-PF is beatable. We can beat them. We've been creaming it in by-elections. So let that track record continue. Let's continue to plug in and to participate as citizens, whatever it is that you can do. If you're a graphic designer, if you're someone who just loves to tweet and can drive hashtags, if you can do TikTok videos, whatever it is, if you know someone who can do something, it's our movement together. So it's not just a question of us sitting on our couches and waiting for President Chamisa to fail. No. If the CCC fails, the citizens fail. Everybody loses. If the CCC wins, everybody wins. So it's not about trying to, spite one leader or one personality. In fact, this movement is not about personalities. It's about sincerely creating a better life for all Zimbabweans, for inspiring, it's about inspiring hope and a thirst for change. It's about driving hope, accountability, and development. And it's about ensuring that we really build a Zimbabwe that can be better. They call us the most educated country, and yet we've got nothing to show for it in terms of our lot and our welfare and our dignity. So we want to turn all that around. So thank you very much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's a privilege, to converse with citizens. We do want to ensure that we are constantly engaging. Implemented soon. So thank you so much to the hosts and to everyone for having me this evening.
Thank you very much, Advocate Mahere. Thank you very much. I'd also like to say a huge shout out to Convivial Village. Someone has donated $300 on your behalf to the space. And Mainyasha, thank you very much for your donation. Then there is a $30 donation for Muningina Diamond to speak. So thank you very much, Advocate Mahere. I'd let my co-host and Nonto thank you, and then I'm sure we can let you have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, BK. And indeed, Spokes, we really would like to thank you so much. When you were encouraging us to spread links to our family members. I know that our co-host Sarah went and shared the link and the initiative that is here with her mother, and her mother actually made a donation.
Kana muchigara kumusha nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku mapana memzada zunzo kutamba mane mumozivamisa sekwem saka mofunga kuti nyika yacho toigadzira sei muziri kuda kuvhota ane mani indai mani munorwisa kuvhota mani chiko chinonetsa mungobvunza mumaraini momo kuti registration center iri papi padhuze nzata zokuti hamuna kunzwa kuti kune vamwe vari kutopiwa mari nokuti vaenda kunoregista kuvhota mukatarisa chipi ndiwene vari kutopa vanhu mari uko manje vamwe vakati chipi chakati chokasira iri because promotion yacho inoona kupera saka mubofanirwe kuwa mari because zvinhu zvitezvoti tigadzire nyika yedu tisu ramangwana renyika nguda urezeko shamari uda
It's been wonderful having you, Zimbabwe, right here on Register to Vote, Zimbabwe. Today, the 8th of August, 2022. Thank you once again for tuning in. This is just one of the many programs that we'll be bringing you right here on Register to Vote, Zimbabwe. Thank you for taking time to be with us. Just a few highlights from that program tonight. Advocate Fadzayi Mahere from the CCC Zimbabwe spokesperson there, just giving us some insights into some of the things that they're doing as a party to ensure they win Bulilima. Register to Vote Zimbabwe is a non-partisan organization. We do not favor one party over another. All we're trying to do here is to get as many people registered as possible for the sake of our country, definitely. So Zimbabwe, it's been nice having you this evening, and once again keep tuned in to our social media platforms, the Register to Vote ZWU on Facebook and also on Twitter, and also we'll be running a TikTok and Instagram page very, very soon. The plan is to get as many Zimbabweans as we can, especially those in the diaspora. If you're in the diaspora and you know very well you cannot go home to vote, what we're trying to do is to get you to sponsor at least 5 new voters in the next 12 months. Let me just give you a bit of insight. It takes about $20 to register a single voter. So let me give you a brief rundown of this is the work that we've been doing with volunteers on the ground. Just this past week, we managed to get 57 new youths to register with very limited resources. Just giving you a bit of insight, it takes up to $20 to get a single voter registered in Zimbabwe, depending obviously on the location of the country. In Uzumba, Maramba, Pfungwa, you're looking at around $18-20. But if you are dealing with Harare and the metropolitan cities in Zimbabwe, it takes only $5 to get someone to register. And we're planning for the next 12 months, Zimbabwe. We're planning with your support. All we are encouraging every single Zimbabwean in the diaspora is to chip in. Imagine if we all gave $100 for the next 12 months. That's about $10 a day. How many people we can get to register? Like I said, it takes about $20 to register a single, up to $20. So it can range from about $5 if you're looking at the metropolitan cities, to about $18-20 when you look at places like Uzumba, Maramba, Pfungwa. So, those deep places in the heart of Zimbabwe where it is difficult to penetrate, you need roughly about $20. And let me give you a breakdown of what this money is used for. So, a fraction of it goes to the transport. So getting actually people to move into that area and, the logistics of making sure that you gather as many people as possible. And then there's documents money. It costs $10 per single voter to actually get a birth certificate. The ID is free, but most people don't even have a birth certificate, so they need that assistance from us. And also the logistics around those volunteers that are going into these areas, they also need some support. So there you are, Zimbabwe. It's been nice having you here. Fadzayi Mahere, the CCC spokesperson, has just given insights into the plans they have for Bulilima. But let's get you to all register. Please support these efforts. We cannot let 2023 slip. Until we meet again next time, you have a blessed evening. Bye for now.
Kana tovota mumwendo mumwano fotera bato ranoda ingava zanu kana tripusi kana MTC chero zvawadai ingava